update. We need to keep pace with what is happening globally today. And all of us are very scared about this word called as cybercrime. What I'm going to talk to you the next few minutes is our experience as my experience as a project director from my college, Nehru Arts Science Commerce College and PG Center, Hubli, along with Karnataka State Police. So I have a belongingness to your department, and along with Hubli Dharwad Police Commissionerate, and under the guidance of Shri Dilip, who was the Deputy Commissioner Police at Hubli Dharwad Police Commissionerate, and we have our consultant, Professor Jaya Indiresan from Delhi. We have gone ahead, conducted a survey, taking Hubli Dharwad as the pilot project. And to start with, we wanted to make a project and give it to the National Commission for Women so that they could bring about an amendment in the IT Act of 2000. We are in the process of submitting it, but before submitting, we conducted many workshops, many symposiums, because we wanted to get the feedback from the public. What you call as the target audience, we interviewed adolescent girls, the vulnerable age between 14 to 19, the college students. We interviewed the mothers. We had a questionnaire for the parents. We had a questionnaire for the women professionals. And we distributed that, got the feedback, and then we did a survey. And that survey was conducted by the Global College of Management, Hubli. And it is SDM Institutes in Hubli who gave us the platform to interact with the professionals and as well as the public. So our big thanks to SDM Hubli. So from SDM Hubli, it's a nice finale for me, for us to conclude this project here and submit it to the government, because this program, what I am talking to you today, that would be going into the project what we will submit to the government, and that is a nice coming round the circle from SDM Hubli to SDM Mangalore. And I'm also very fortunate to be standing before the esteemed police personnel here and to share with you some of the findings what we had during the survey conducted taking Hubli Dharwad as the pilot project. To start with, we had a 3 days national conference workshop at Karnataka University Dharwad, supported by the State Commission for Women, where we had the resource persons coming from Germany, USA, France, and they interacted with nearly 150 to 200 participants, and that workshop gave us the platform to find out what are the different kind of cyber crimes which are committed against women in particular, against girls in particular, against children in particular. We had none less than Pragna Sarvade, the IPS, the Additional Commissioner of Police from Mumbai, who gave us a wonderful presentation. We also had Dr. Guru Prasad, who was one of our partners in this project. And during that time, some wonderful presentations were made, and a list of the cybercrime against women were tabled. Like we have the most often what we see, the crime committed against women is stalking. All of us have heard about stalking. If we have not heard about it, I think so. As we have for teachers refresher course, I'm basically a teacher, I teach. So as we have refresher courses for teachers where we update our knowledge about our teaching, the areas of studies, I think so. If it is not there, I just do the suggestion. Police also they've got their academic staff college. Am I right, sir? You have those academic staff colleges where you are given the courses, and I'm sure there is a component for you now to update you regarding the cyber laws. And it is the responsibility of the police in the beginning, I feel, because for example, if I have a defamation case, somebody is trying to spoil my name, like I am not giving in to my boss, I don't listen to my boss. Sexual harassment at workplace. Today, sexual harassment at workplace can take a different turn. That gentleman, thank God I have a very good principal, but that gentleman, if he wants to take a revenge on me, what is he going to do? He is going to post my profile on the net, and he is going to circulate that profile in a very obscene manner to everybody, defame my character, and then say, write all thing obscene about me, and then try to tarnish my image. That is possible through the net. That is also can be considered as the sexual harassment at workplace. Stalking. You have, this generally happens with people who are very, very famous. You had the case of Steffi Graf, the tennis player. Her fans were following her, and that is generally which happens, that the man is stalking the woman, but it has been found the other way around now. The woman also may stalk the man, following through the net, keeping tab of all the movements. Where does the man go? Where does the woman go? What are her tastes? Trying to intrude into her privacy. Then we have the hate mails. If somebody doesn't like, my son who was studying in MS Ramaiah College in Bangalore, doing his engineering, he gives me a call one fine night and he is on the verge of tears. He tells me that one of his classmates, one girl, she is staying in his friend's house for the last 3 days. So being a mother of a grown-up teenage boy, you suddenly feel, why is that girl staying in his flat? You feel little apprehensive. Then I said, what is she doing in your flat? He said that girl, a boy was in love with her. It was a one-way love which she did not reciprocate. This boy, what did he do is that he morphed her face, like the body is somebody else's, the face is of this girl. He morphed that photograph, morphing that is called as, and he posted to all his friends saying that this girl is available. And this girl is from a very respectable society of Pet. Any girl for that matter is from a very respectable family. And she had come from Bihar, an outstation girl. And what that boy had done, he posted this photograph to her brother's net also. The brother saw that. The parents came down from Bihar, wanted to remove this girl from engineering and take her back, because they thought that the daughter had gone into all these kind of activities. And the daughter was trying to explain to her parents, look, I don't know. Who has put, I don't know, that's not me. That photograph is not mine. But who is going to believe her? So this is what is called as morphing. And after that, it was solved. We put in some people and that case was solved. But the trauma, the psychological trauma, what this girl went through, only as a woman I would understand that. But when this girl comes with, for example, she comes to the police station with this case before you. Now, I'm very sure that is why you are for this conference here. But in case you are in the police station, you are on duty that day, the girl comes there and she wants to, lodge the complaint. If you don't know what is morphing, do you agree with me? All of you? Now, if you don't know what is morphing, can you take down that complaint? Now, you are not going to tell her, look, I don't know what is morphing. You will act that you know everything. But basically, none of us, for example, we also did not know unless we went into, like we learn swimming when we are into the water. So we also didn't know all this terminology. Once we are into the project, we have come to know about the terminology. So I basically feel that cyber law, today's world, 21st century, third millennium society, should be made a compulsory subject for all professionals. Not only for the police. Why only the police? Now, if I come to the police station, I should have those the knowledge on my fingertips. Because if the policeman tells me tomorrow, look, this is not possible, I should have those power on my fingertips and say, look, you can register this under IPC so and so. For that matter, the chain is as strong as the link. Every link is important. So what we did is, during the course of our what we were doing, the workshop, the project, what we did it, we had another conference in Hubli, taking everybody into confidence against the police department, the bankers, the bank customers. What we did yesterday in Mangalore, we have done it in Hubli along with Oriental Bank of Commerce. We wanted to tell the women how to use the credit card, the debit card and the ATM cards. What are the do's and the don'ts? At that time, we had a chief guest, the Vice Chancellor of Women's University, Bijapur. So we had Madam, I forgot her name. We had Madam Vice Chancellor with us. In fact, that's a women's university. They have the syllabus. So we suggested to her that you have a part of your syllabi, a chapter on cybercrime. So that the girls, they come to know what are the crimes existing, what are the pitfalls, what are the dangers. See, by telling all these, we are not going to put off the children. We are not going to put off the public. Like, you should know what are the dangers so that we can take some corrective actions for the dangers. So we told her, make it a part of your syllabi, and we are very glad to tell you that Bijapur Women's University has made cybercrime and women a part of their syllabus. So also, Calicut University, where I have my friend in the Women's Studies department, we sent a syllabi to her. She also has made it one of the papers in the Women's Studies department. So in our own way, as academician, as I told you, I am a teacher, I am a member of the Board of Studies. As that two positions, what I could do, what we could do with the support of various departments, we are trying to do our might, contribute our might to this new kind of what you call as the demon, the octopus-like demon engulfing us from all ways, from all parts, and that is the cybercrime. But the law part of it, what are the laws? So if you go to the IT, during the course of the project we were seeing that the law, IT Act of 2000 doesn't mention any law for the perpetrators, any punishment for the perpetrators of the cyber crimes against women. I think so, when we are 50% of the Indian population, 47.8% of the global population under the sun, and when sin, crime sees no gender, I think so, every IT act of every country, no IT act of any country has got a special law for the cybercrime against women. I think so, here with this kind of workshops, with your expertise and the expertise what we had, the speakers in the morning, some suggestions could be done to the government where we could come out with particularly gender-related law against the perpetrators of cybercrime against women. So this is what we have been trying to do through this major national project, and the findings of this will be submitted to the government very soon. So we are very happy. In fact, I am an intruder. I am not a regular speaker here. I just requested the organizers, just give me 10 minutes. I want to share with you what are my experiences of during the project. During the survey, I'll just take another 2 minutes. During the survey, when we surveyed the mothers and the teachers and the adolescent girls, look, most of them are over the net, but many of them do not know the sites what they have to visit or they should not visit. Most of the mothers do not know what are the sites visited by their children. Now, when mothers are ignorant, what can happen to the children. So what we did is that we brought out with the security systems in Bangalore, along with our friend Mr. B. Jayachandra, we had little books published, given it to the audience, like the small books which deals with the do's and don'ts of computer. Like we tell the parents, do not keep the computer in a secluded room. Do not keep it in a separate room. Keep it in a room where the parents are moving about very frequently. Like the child will know somebody is looking over his shoulder and he cannot visit the sites. Of course, we don't doubt our children, but curiosity can take them anywhere. So we tell, do not keep the computer in a secluded room. Then we say, control, monitor. Parents monitor the time of TV. You can't see TV from 5 to 7. That's what I was telling my boys. I have 2 boys. I told them never see the TV between 5 and 7 because that is the time to do your homework. So don't see. Similarly, if your child is sitting before the computer for a long time, in the middle of the night, like say after 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, of course, I don't say there are many people who are doing deep into the studies, but well, what is wrong in keeping an eye on the child? What is he doing before the computer at night 3 o'clock? So this, as a parent, these are the checks we can keep, because children, when they are exposed to this cybercrime, all these are half knowledge, and it is a very dangerous knowledge for the children. So the small booklets, what we brought about, and we took it up as a mission. We wanted to distribute, I think so I'll go back and I do that now after this workshop is over here, get that printed and distributed to all the schools today, because everyone between the 9th standard and the 11th standard, they are at the computers. Educate the principal, educate the teachers, educate the police, and then what happens? Everybody can try to keep ourselves safe from this new crime called as the cybercrime. And the police has a great role to play here, because updating the knowledge is very, very important. So I don't think I can have more than this opportunity to talk to you. I'm very happy to address you for these few minutes, and I hope you take something from my talk, that we need to empower ourselves with knowledge. If you don't know, let us say we don't know. Yes, I don't know. I am a human being, but let us have that curiosity to go to the books, to attend such programs, and get to know about so many things. I really thank the SDM Law College for holding such a wonderful public good program and giving me this little opportunity to address you. Thank you very much.
Who has laid the foundation of what I was planning to talk. This session is supposed to be on capacity building for police personnel. I understand there are some students also. What I'm going to talk, generally not gender-based, capacity building in general, which will be of value to all of us. What is capacity building? As I see it, there are 3 major components of capacity building. What we normally call as the KAS formula. Many people would know. K stands for knowledge. Unless you have the knowledge, you're not capacitated. So first requirement is that you acquire knowledge. Knowledge by itself is not enough unless you have the right attitude to use the knowledge that has been given to you, or the attitude to acquire the knowledge is very important. So attitude becomes a very important component in capacity building. Everything depends upon your attitude. So I'll come to it later on. And then the third important component is skill. There's a distinction between knowledge and skill. Knowledge can be very theoretical. You might have, you can dissect a subject into its basic bits and then say that there's a common thing about economists. They do the analysis to such an extent and then say how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. So you can theoretically talk a lot